To build muscle, you need some form of resistance training, and unless you have a large disposable income and can afford to build a home gym, then calisthenics is going to be your main form of resistance training. And if you've never heard of calisthenics before, you're probably thinking, mate, what is a calisthenics? And calisthenics in its most simplest form is just body weight training. And I spend a substantial amount of time learning and experimenting with calisthenics and using it to build muscle and to learn some pretty cool party tricks. And to do calisthenics and to build muscle at home, you're only going to need two things. Number one, a pull-up bar. Number two, a backpack. The good thing about calisthenics is that the same rules that apply to conventional weightlifting and bodybuilding also apply to calisthenics. And that main rule is that you need to apply progressive overload to keep getting stronger and to keep building muscle, which basically just means make the exercise harder as you get stronger. With traditional weightlifting, this is very easy. You basically just pick an exercise, pick a weight, get good at lifting that weight, and when that weight becomes a bit too easy, you just add more weight. However, with calisthenics and bodyweight training, it's slightly more complicated. With calisthenics, you can either increase the reps or increase the weight by doing weighted calisthenics, or change the exercise and make the exercise harder. For example, you can go from doing push-ups to archer push-ups to one-arm push-ups. And then boom, a few months later, you've made some muscle gains. Because you're training at home, most of what you'll be doing is bodyweight compound exercises such as push-up and pull-up variations, dips, squats, and some isolation exercises with a bag. So let's actually get into the training and what you'll be doing. You need to follow some sort of weekly split or some sort of training program. There are loads of different splits you can follow, but for me personally, when I was doing calisthenics, a push-pull leg split worked very well for me, as it allowed me to practice my skills and do the hypertrophy training without getting too fatigued. So let's go through each day, talk about the progressions and how you can structure your training. With the progressions, we'll start with the easiest progression of the exercise and move on to the hardest. So this is how I'd structure my push days. So I'd usually start off with 30 minutes of skills practice, which at the time was mainly just handstand practice. And then I would go into my main block of training. My training would usually consist of 3 sets of each exercise, and the exercises were an overhead press variation, a primary push-up variation, secondary push-up variation, a dip variation, and then an isolation exercise for the triceps and the lateral delts. I used to do anywhere between 6 to 15 reps depending on the exercise and depending on how hard it was. Let's go through the progressions. So you can start off with pike holds, go to pike push-ups, elevated pike push-ups, wall handstand push-ups, and then handstand push-ups. For your push-up variations, you can go from doing wall push-ups, incline push-ups, knee push-ups, push-ups, including all normal push-up variations, archer push-ups, and then one-arm push-up. Dips, you can go from doing seated dips to normal dips to maybe weighted dips. For your triceps and your delts, you can do tricep extensions with your body and lateral raises with a backpack. I would recommend trying out each exercise from the easiest variation to the hardest one to see how strong you are and see where you're at. So if you're strong enough to do push-ups but you can't do archer push-ups, for your primary and secondary push-up exercises, just do 2 variations of push-ups. For example, you can choose between push-ups, diamond push-ups, wide push-ups, decline push-ups, etc. But I always recommend doing the hardest exercises first while your body is still fresh, and then doing a secondary exercise to push your body even further. If you can do archer push-ups, then you do your archer push-ups first as your primary push-up exercise, and then another variation of push-ups as your secondary push-up exercise. And remember, if you can do 15 reps or more, then it's time to make the exercise harder by applying progressive overload. So this is how I would structure my pull days. I start off with 30 minutes of skills practice, which would be back lever and front lever training. And then I go into my main block of training, and I'd usually do 3 sets of a primary vertical pull, secondary vertical pull, a horizontal pull, and if you can, do a hyperextension variation, but if you can't, then it's fine. And then go to 3 sets of bicep and rear delt exercises. For your vertical pull progressions, you can start off with dead hangs, scapular shrugs plus negatives, pull-ups including all variations, archer pull-ups, and weighted pull-ups. For your horizontal pull progressions, you can start off with Australian pull-ups, progress the angle over time depending on how strong you are, tuck lever rows, and then front lever rows. For your biceps, you just do bicep curls with a bag, and for your rear delts, you can do a rear delt fly with a backpack as well. By the way, I forgot to mention, if you do actually have dumbbells at home, use your dumbbells for your isolation exercises. But if you don't, then use the backpack. Once again, experiment with the exercises and the progressions, and then figure out which ones you can do and which ones you can manage, and then work your way through over time and just get stronger at all the progressions. Remember, once you can do 3 sets of 15 on the exercise, then it's time to make it harder. So this is how I would structure my leg days. I'd start off with a primary leg press, secondary leg press, a quad exercise, a hamstring exercise, calves, and then some abs at the end. So my main leg press would be a pistol squat variation because I think it'd be fun to work towards something. So I'd start off with the squat variation, assisted pistol squat, and then into other pistol squat variations. As my secondary leg press, I would go into a Bulgarian split squat. For your quads, you can do a reverse Nordic curl or some sissy squats. For your hamstrings, you can do an actual Nordic curl or a one-legged RDL. For your calves, you can go from doing calf raises to one-legged calf raises to one-legged weighted calf raises. For your ab exercises, I'd recommend starting off with your lower abs as they are harder to grow. So these are exercises such as knee raises or leg raises. Or if you actually want to work towards something, you could actually learn the L-sit and try to follow all the progressions that lead onto an L-sit. And that's essentially everything you need from a training standpoint to build muscle at home. However, you cannot forget your nutrition. Also, if you're skinny, you're going to find it easy to start calisthenics as your body weight is already light. So all you really have to do is just focus on working your way through the progressions, eat in a small caloric surplus, and then focus on getting bigger and stronger. And if you don't understand what a calorie surplus is, it's basically just eating slightly above the amount of calories you need to maintain your weight in order to gain weight. If you're skinny fat or just overweight, you're gonna find calisthenics slightly harder to start, but it's not impossible. This is because you're gonna be carrying excess body fat, which basically means you're doing weighted calisthenics. So just try your hardest to work through the progressions and focus on eating in a calorie deficit with nutrient-dense foods and a high-protein diet. This is so you can shed off the fat and will actually make your calisthenics improve at an amazing rate because you're actually losing the fat that you're actually training with. So you're actually getting stronger and getting lighter at the same time. A good goal for everyone to have is to eat approximately 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if I weigh 160 pounds, then I eat 160 grams of protein. So that's everything you need to know to build muscle at home. If you want to learn more about losing fat, then I'll link my fat loss video in the description down below. Or if you want to watch it to learn how to understand calories better and use it to actually bulk, then you can do that too. If you want some more advice on building muscle, losing fat, and calisthenics, just DM me on Instagram. And if you want to work one-on-one with me to achieve any of your fitness goals, then press the link down below. And as per usual, it's been a pleasure talking to you. My name is Iyad Harishi, by the way.